The only true way to fix this country, amongst the other ways of doing it, there's some good ways and there's some bad ways. This is one of the good ways. And it really shouldn't be that hard, but it's going to be hard. But this is an opinion piece from Kurt Schlichter. Let the blue cities die. Yeah. So, if you don't know anything about Kurt Schlichter, he's an author. He was in the Army. I think he's in intelligence or something like that. He's also a prolific tweeter. He does that a lot, and he has a lot of nasty things to say to libprogs and Democrats and socialists, and I 100% agree with that. Now, I'm going to read this whole article because it's poignant. It's straight to the point. It's what we can do, what we should do, not necessarily what we can do at this certain point, because there's no really institutional power that the right side of the political spectrum really holds. So let's just get into it. The Democratic cities are urine-soaked hellholes that reek of pot, where criminals stalk unmolested while the full fury of what is supposed to be law hangs over the head of any citizen who dares to do something about it. And that's good. The idiots who live there voted for turning their urban landscapes into petri dishes of social pathologies, and they should enjoy the full benefits of their decisions. I agree. I say this all the time. They should reap what they sow, and they are. And unfortunately, some are moving who can, and they go to red states and they vote the same way as they did in California or Oregon or Washington State or Illinois or New York State, the Northeast. You get what I'm saying. We normal people should avoid these socialist wastelands and elect legislators to Congress who will starve them of the federal funds that enable their decline. That is how you do it. We can't do it now because we don't have that institutional power. We can try. This is the way to do it within the system that is currently here. But understand, that is part of the problem. The current system, as we know it, of our conservative or constitutional republic, isn't necessarily working anymore. Its half-life we're getting close to the half-life. They say, you hear this number bounced around. You hear that constitutional republics or representative republics last 250 years. And that's somewhat true. If you look at Rome and other republics in the past, they just don't last long because the people that can vote themselves money do, in fact, vote themselves money. In the red states, our legislators should wage warfare on the blue tumors in their mindset lest they metastasize outside the city limits, which they are. Case in point, Chicago, Austin, Texas, Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle. You get what I'm pointing. All of these places I'm mentioning are blue cities. All of them 100% across the board. And we should ruthlessly point to them as the future Democrats want, which they are, a vision of a psychotic hobo taking a dump on the sidewalk out in front of your house forever. Us normal people can't help these cities and their moron populations because they don't want the help themselves. And they don't. We tried compassion. Now let's try compression. Let's squeeze them till they pop, like the pimple on America's rear end that they are. Yes, yes, yes. We used to love going to New York City. The excitement, the food, the energy, there was no other place like that. And now there is no place like it at all because the corpse of the Big Apple that we enjoyed visiting was rotting even last year when he swung by on his book tour. The people, at least the normal ones, were missing because they all moved out. It looked empty somehow. What it lacked in people, it made up in dank clouds of weed smoke. The whole place smelled like a dorm at Rasta U. Junkies, bum, derelicts, and other key demographic loitered on the streets. The cops seemed to have simply checked out. But who can blame them? The Soros DAs, the slack-jawed electorate elected won't change or charge anyone anyway unless he's a political enemy or a normal person trying to protect New Yorkers from one of those myriad of freaks the city fetishizes and indulges. As in California, all the good ones are leaving. There are a lot of complaints about the blue state denizens shifting to red places and bringing their clown show politics with them. But in my experience, it's the red people who are saying, to hell with this, and checking out. The poor libs can't move, and the rich ones don't need to. The little enclaves are relatively safe. The subways may be concrete jungle where freaks with meat cleavers wander, and you might get pushed into an oncoming train by some schizo with 100 arrests and no real jail time on his rap sheet. But the cops are still empowered to act in the well-heeled precincts. People ask how I can stay in Los Angeles, but I'm not actually in LA. I'm in a city by the beach where the cops actually cop. I think he lives in Manhattan Beach. I think that's where my grandmother used to live. Yeah, she did. The chaos is for the poors on the uncool side of the 405. My neighbors vote for Ted Lieu and let the consequences of their moral preening fall on the people who don't work via Zoom. Our job as conservatives is not to fix blue cities for the sake of their inhabitants. Those dummies should suffer the consequences of their actions. Let them dodge bum spore on the sidewalks. Let them walk in fear of the unhoused who would be housed in asylums or dungeons in a civilized metropolis. Our job is to contain the infected blue cities, to keep their poison from spreading to the rest of the country. And one way to do that is to mercilessly use them as an example of what all the America would be like if the Lori Lightfoots of the Democratic Party got their way. Make no mistake. They want to impose the same foul chaos on the rest of us. But the good news is that normal people are still disgusted and repelled by this dystopian function. The dogma that they created failed. Cities should be the cautionary example we cite endlessly and tirelessly as the alternative to our Republican freedom, security, and prosperity agenda. Of course, the regime media will slobber all over the Democrat masters trying to cover up the truth. Look at all of them earnestly explaining that subway system is actually safe. And the real problem is that you people just hate it differently mentally because you are racist and you should ignore the guy threatening to stab you because of equity, and shut up, white privilege wielders of all colors. But we all know the truth. We've all passed the encampments of needle jockeys and lunatics that blight the urban landscape. We've all seen the filth. We've all inhaled the rancid odor of civilizational collapse. Hell, even Republicans could sell the alternative. What Democrats offer is just that bad. Let's get the idea of helping blue cities out of our head, though. There's no helping those who will not help themselves. They vote for those people. They choose this. Let them backstroke through the cesspool of their own creation. Our job is containment. We need to keep the cancer from spreading. We do that by holding the blue cities up as alternative to us in all stinking glory. Then, wherever we have sufficient political power, we must strangle the cities. Money funds this all, our money. We must cut off their money, employing the same tough love strategy used by the mom of an indolent 25-year-old who sits down in the basement playing Legend of Zelda, taking bong hits all day instead of getting a job. The cities live on our subsidies. Much of our business they had has left for less scummy climes, and they survive on the collective largesse to fuel their addiction to socialism. Make them further cannibalize the last remaining muscle to feed the socialist fat, thereby drive the remaining productive out. Heighten the contradictions. Make it all worse. That's the only way of ever making it better. The pain must be so great that the denizens fire the Democrats. Remember how the New Yorkers finally turned to Rudy and he turned the Big Apple into a showplace? It can be done, but only agony will provoke it. So agony they must have. Let the cities die. Maybe they will live again. But even if they don't, okay, fine. It's not our problem. And at least they won't infect the rest of us. That, my friends, is what you should do for all intents and purposes. But let's be honest. That's a really hard road to hoe, if you know what I mean. I mean, what I mean by that is this is all incumbent on the people there in those cities get fed up and stop voting blue. Well, it's been 3 or 4 generations in some of these blue cities that they keep voting Democrat. They walk out on their porch every single day and they see the urban decline in their towns and in their metropolitan sections of the city. They see it themselves, but yet they keep voting the same way. What can you do about it? like Kurt was saying, you have to fix ourselves first. We got to push every single freaking Democrat, socialist, libprog out of elective office. All of it. Got to knock them out. Got to boot them. Gone. Got to vote them out. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, the lesser of two evils is still evil. Republicans are not necessarily evil. We gotta vote the right Republicans in. And you gotta hold their feet to the fire. And if they start messing up, guess what? You boot them out. You recall them. And then you don't vote for them the next time. You highlight their transgressions. You make sure that people, when they go to vote, they're like, I'm not going to vote for this Republican. He's a douchebag. But we can't fix this because the blue cities are being funded by us. That's it right there. When they fail, guess what? We bail them out. When they F up, guess what? We bail them out. When they screw up and their denizens burn the whole city down, well, guess what? We pay them back. We give them money for it out of our tax dollars, federal tax dollars. And the only way to fix it, like Kurt said, is you got to start voting the correct way. That means remove liberal progs and Democrats out of office. That's the only way this is going to get fixed. Now, let's talk about the other ways that we don't necessarily want to go